If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it. With My Funny House, here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Good morning, San Diego. Even though it's 11 o'clock, it's technically
still morning.
It's still morning. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mark Powell. I'm a real estate broker with Powell Brothers Realty, and sitting right next to me is my brother, Frank Powell.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Maria Herman, who is our guest host, typically is not here. She's still traveling the world with her.
Wow.
She's doing good in comedy.
She got a lot of little gigs everywhere.
I think we're too small for her right now. I hope she comes back.
I know.
But anyway, inside the studio with us is our brother, Tony Calabrese.
Yay!
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, so we have him here. That's why I want everyone to tune into our YouTube channel so you can see Tony's funny.
Tony's funny, and he's a good person.
I'm a lot thinner in person.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about something that is extremely important when it comes to real estate. It's called real estate negotiations. So essentially, when you hire a realtor to represent you, you're trusting that they're going to get you a good price. You're trusting that they're going to give you all of the correct paperwork, make sure your file is compliant with the Department of Real Estate. But one of the most important things that a realtor will do for you is negotiate on your behalf. And Frank's going to explain a little bit about what I mean by negotiating on your behalf.
Well, when you hire an agent, any agent, if you fill out a contract, then you're representing that client. So you have to speak on behalf of the client. So you got to make sure that you know your client, you know what your client's goals are, you know what your client expects out of you, and then you also teach him what you're going to do. But you are representing your client, which means you have to protect your client. So the whole thing that I know is protecting the client.
Well, speaking of
Protection's good.
Yeah, Tony, what do you know about negotiating?
Oh, it's simple. Just make them an offer they can't refuse.
I've heard that before somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere I heard that before.
Can you imagine bringing Tony to a negotiation?
Hey, we're buying your house. You got 2 weeks to move out.
Is that Tony or Tony?
No, I mean, you guys make me sound like I'm in the... First of all, you make me sound like I'm in the mafia, and there's no such thing as the mafia. Just That's legitimate Italian businessmen that have been persecuted by the federal government.
That's right.
That's what they tell us to say.
Yeah. Is that under your Boy Scout rules?
Oh, hey, no, that's different. The Boy Scouts of Italy, completely different oath.
What is it?
On my honor, I swear to God, I didn't see nothing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's some funny stuff. Okay, so one thing that you want your realtor to do is negotiate the price. And there's several different ways to negotiate a price. Frank, what is one technique that you would recommend for price negotiation?
Well, obviously you got to be realistic. You got to see what's going on in the market, because too many people go into Google and they talk to their friends and oh, my friend sold a house just like yours for over $1 million. Then it sticks in their head. So you got to teach your client what data is. Where do we get these numbers? We don't just make them up. And with a comparable market analysis, they can look on different websites to see.
What is a comparable market analysis?
Well, whenever you're going to put a house on the market and you're going to negotiate a price or figure out what you're going to list it for, you have to compare it for like properties that have sold. And you can't go back like 10 years. You got to say, hey, what's going on in the last 6 months, or even 3 months, because everything's happening so fast. Prices are going up. So you kind of there's certain things that we have, like maps that you can draw a circle around the person's place and say, please list every 3-bedroom, 2-bath that has sold or is pending or is listed. And then you take that number and we calculate out what the average is. And then that's about what you want to list it for.
Seems like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. That's why
I think for me, negotiations, a good pair of pliers always helps.
The tool. I
you want negotiating tools, I'm just saying.
I must have PTSD.
Frank, we got to bring Tony to our next negotiating session.
This is Tony's. Please sign.
Sign, exactly.
The other one is what realtors have is called a fiduciary responsibility.
What is that?
Well, I know that's a weird name. It sounds almost vulgar, like fiduciary. Well, what it is basically says that under our license, we are obligated by law to represent the client for his best interest as opposed to ours. Now, what does that mean? Well, if I have two offers on the table, but I'm going to make more money doing one, but the client is going to make less money, you got to go with the client. So you definitely do what's best for your client.
Yeah, that's look out for their best
You also
interest.
have to do listen, fiduciary goes both ways. When you're in a negotiation, you have to do the right thing on both sides. Even though you're fighting hard for your client to negotiate, you also have to be fair, legal, just, moral, and ethical to the other side.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Are there different levels of fiduciaries? You were saying it sounds obscene. Is it like a mother fiduciary?
Yeah,
And then
it does sound obscene. I don't
yeah.
like that word, fiduciary. But anyway, that's what it is. And it's just a simple term meaning represent your client on their best behalf.
So one thing that I know when we're negotiating is we want to find out what the other party needs out of the deal. So if I'm representing a buyer, we want to find out what the seller wants. If we're representing the seller, we already know what the seller wants. We just have to convince the buyer that they need to come up in price.
Yeah, the hardest thing is not to get personal and have people get upset. We know how that works. Is a refrigerator staying or going? Well, we want a refrigerator. Well, we're not going to buy your house for $1.5 million unless you keep the refrigerator there. I mean, these are the kind of things that mess up sometimes. The basic things. They just go like, really? Do you really?
Wasn't there a deal about a patio furniture set once?
That was actually my deal. Yeah. So what happened was
seriously?
Yeah. Well, what happened was
patio furniture.
Tony won't believe this. The patio area looked empty. So, and we're about to have an open house. So I go to Rite Aid and I see this little patio furniture out there for like $99. I buy it. I set it up. I put it in the back. And the person that bought it goes, "We will not buy this house unless you include that patio furniture." And I go, "It's from Rite Aid." He didn't believe me. He goes, "Yeah, right. It's teak. I want it." So I go, "Okay, you can have it."
It wasn't teak.
Imitation teak?
I don't know what it was.
All right.
It rained and it melted.
It rained and it melted.
So one thing you have to know when you're negotiating a real estate contract, and Frank said you have to do a comparative market analysis. You should know what is currently on the market. Like, what is your competition? And in San Diego, that might be tough because there's not much on the market now, and there's a reason for that. What do you think? What's the reason?
Well, the reason why it's not on the market because people don't want to move, number one. Where are they going to go? Before, in the old days of real estate, you'd buy a condo, you'd live in it for a couple of years, maybe 5 years, It was always like a long-term investment. Then you take that, you make $20,000 and you boot up,
Right.
You move up and then you get your house finally. But now the houses are going up so fast, they're so expensive. If you sell a house in your neighborhood, you can only move to your neighborhood.
Right.
There's no other neighborhood you can because everything's going up so high. Unless you leave the state and go to another state. But if you look at nationally right now, the prices in other states that were very low 3-4 years ago are almost at San Diego levels. Phoenix is going crazy. Texas is going nuts. Florida's prices are going up. Missouri prices are going up. Idaho's
going up everywhere.
Going up everywhere faster than usual.
Do you think this is going to crash at any time soon?
I do.
Tony,
I think eventually it all does. But are you going to be better off owning something in San Diego when it crashes or something in Missouri when it crashes?
Right.
I don't know.
well, I don't know. Or you just stay in Missouri and live instead of moving all around.
As long as you can afford it, does it matter?
No one can afford it.
Yeah.
No one can afford houses these days. You have to have a double income.
Well, there are some people that can afford it because we're selling it to those people.
No one. I'm not being specific when I say no one.
Right.
Most people.
Or is there one guy?
I can't afford to buy my own house.
Right. I mean,
like if I had to buy my house now, I can't afford it.
Yeah,
right.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's too expensive.
Way too expensive.
Hey, this is something that I want to talk about also about negotiating, because we've moved into this digital world where people keep texting. Even my wife texts me now. She texts. I'm upstairs and she sends me a text.
That's problematic. Yeah.
What does she say? Don't come up here?
Yeah. Stay upstairs.
Guess where I am? It's like.
Mark, I don't know where you've been the last 10 years, but people have been doing that, texting back and forth in the house.
No, I get it. But
what happened?
I'm talking about in real estate transactions. One thing that we're missing out on that is very effective is to meet the seller in person. When you can present.
I always like to meet people eye to eye. I would never just go online.
So if you're dealing in real estate, sometimes it's best to get the meeting. We call it get the meeting.
Yeah. We always get the meeting. Yeah.
You better be there.
Why would you not want to have all the players in the same room?
There are people actually, your clients that you work with that are more comfortable
out of state. That makes
or
sense.
out of state, but they'll
have a rep. They'll somebody representing.
Well, they're more comfortable texting. Some people are more comfortable texting.
Yeah, it's changed.
I don't know, for a deal, for a real estate deal, for a lot of money.
No,
I'm not texting anybody.
There's car companies you can buy a car with, you mail it to
I understand that.
But now with
that happened to me. I never went to the dealership for years. I just called Frank and I got a new car delivered to me. That's right. That's not a joke. I would just every year I'd get a new Cadillac.
Really?
Yeah, that's not a joke.
Wait, they just bring it to your house, or you pick the color?
The office or the house. Yeah, I told them what he wanted, and they would just deliver it.
That's amazing.
It's not new.
Well, we're not all bank presidents.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tony was.
I'm not anymore.
He was but you were a bank president, so you understand a lot about what we're talking about. So here's what live conversations is what I'm coming to. Live conversations on the phone are better than text messaging when you're negotiating.
Absolutely. You know what? A text will get you in trouble way faster than a verbal. Because you can't correct what you say. Like I always make mistakes even when I talk on the radio, but I can correct it.
Correct.
You can't.
That's right.
We had that whole show like sending people the wrong messages. With the auto text.
You cannot judge tone from a text most of the time. You can if it's an inflammatory.
So when
most of the time you can't judge tone.
But you always have to assume what they're thinking as opposed to hearing the fluctuations of their voice. So negotiations is always good speaking. And it's really good, especially when two agents. Let me tell you something, agents who listen to my show. If you want to get things done properly, invite the other agent for a cup of coffee and face them face to face, because once you see who you're dealing with and they're an actual human, you tend not to be adversarial. You tend to work things out. You try to create a win-win situation. You got a house for sale. We have a house that we're selling. You're negotiating. We're negotiating. We both want to make our commission. They both want the best deal on both sides. So work with the agents and don't be adversarial. It's just be nice. I mean, that's how we do it. Just be nice.
He'll set up a meeting.
Tony, did you hear that?
Yeah, just be nice.
Be nice, Tony.
Just be nice. That's all you got to do, Mark.
Yeah.
Just be nice. I'm very nice when I'm negotiating.
I know. There's something about setting a list price too. When I'm talking about setting a list price, there's normally your idea of what the price is, the seller's idea of what the price is, and your buyer's idea of what the price is. So we have three different ideas of what a price of a house should be. However, when you set a list price, Frank, what are the three techniques that you can use to set a list price?
When you set, you bring the CMA, the comparable market analysis. So use your data. Mm-hmm. You see what's going on. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's three.
Price.
I was way off on the answer to that one.
Okay, here I'm going to tell you what they are. Okay, these are pricing
What's
strategies.
Stump Frank Day?
No, it's not. Okay, you can set
right.
stump.
I was thinking bat, gun, and knife, so I have no idea what the three things are.
Okay, here's what they are. In negotiating, in setting a list price, you can set the price low to create something called a multiple offer situation.
Right.
Okay. The other way is to set the price at market value, and that way you'll
so people know you're reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable.
And the other one is to set it high.
Because there's some people that have lost out on so many homes.
They'll just take it.
They'll just go, I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah. I'll give you full price offer. I know it's high, but I'm just going to give it to you.
Put that thing in penning so I can have it.
So those are three techniques. Of those three techniques, sometimes setting the list price low seems to work pretty good because it's almost like being at an auction.
Absolutely. You'll drive it up to market value or higher. If it's 10% lower, then people are going to look, hey, this house is really low. Let's put in an offer. And then they're going to drive it up.
But the challenging thing is letting your seller know, hey, we're going to set your list price below the market value. They're like, why would you do that?
Right.
We want more money. But
they have to believe you and trust you. That's why I like to set it right where the value is.
But you got to believe that right now it's okay to do that because everybody's bidding on everything. It's a seller's market. Right?
Absolutely.
There are times though when setting it low is not going to benefit.
Right.
The seller.
Correct.
And that's when you do. That's when you do a spread. You do the.
It's called a variable listing.
Yeah,
range.
Variable listing. So you go when it's a buyer's market, you'll say we'll take between 700 and 800.
Right.
So anywhere around there will take. That was a technique used in the buyer's market. However, me personally never liked that technique. Just put the price that's out there, put the price that the data shows, and then wait. And also, for those of you who think you're going to get more than you are, like, why don't we just put the number out there? Who cares? Maybe somebody will buy it, even at this expensive level. That will put red flags, because after no one buys it, you're going to start reducing it, and then you're going to reduce it. And that's called chasing the market. And once buyers know that you're chasing the market, they're going to offer you an even lower price. So don't overprice
One of the
your house.
problems
I know
with
some of that happened too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's called chasing the market. One thing, if you set the price too high and it stays on the market too long, people will start to think there may be something physically wrong with the house. Like,
Yeah,
why has this house
absolutely.
been on the market
Like
for
a ghost or something.
We had that.
Yeah, well, you know.
We remember that ghost story?
But there's a lot of people that believe in ghosts.
There's
And
a few
a lot of
ghosts
people
around.
that
You
think
know?
ghosts are in their house. And there's a lot of people who,
You know, you have to tell
Say they-
somebody if somebody died in the house.
right, that's a disclosure. Well, die in the house, right,
Yeah.
within 3 years.
Tony, did you know that?
I don't know nothing.
That's funny.
I don't
That's
know.
part of that Boy Scout oath.
What
Yeah.
if they die somewhere else, but they're buried in one of Tony's backyards?
Can
You
you
have to
bury a
disclose that?
pet in your backyard? Is that legal?
No.
Oh, you can't?
I heard it's not.
What-
Do I do it? Yes.
Well,
bury
I mean,
my
if you're,
dog,
if
I
you're
bury my
burying
cat,
like
my-
goldfish and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, if you have a
if
horse.
it's Uncle Larry, it's a different story. You know, it's
You want to do that. Okay, when you do negotiate, and Frank mentioned this before, set reasonable expectations for the seller and for the buyer, because it's a very stressful thing, you know. Sometimes a seller will want to give absolutely no credits to the buyer,
Right.
and sometimes the buyer will do a home inspection and they'll say, repair everything that's wrong with the house.
Right.
So this is when the negotiation is a little challenging, because both sides have to give a little bit. You know, obviously.
Well, obviously, when you put the price out there, you're hoping you're going to get that price. You usually, well, now they do, but typically people offer lower. If you have the kind of seller that goes, "This is what I want. You guys told me." Well, it's an estimate. It really is. I mean, it's as close as you can get, but it's not always exact. So you have to have a bit of flexibility to take a lower offer, or to throw in something extra in order to negotiate a good deal, or else you'll just keep losing and losing and losing.
as is never as is.
As
That's
is
so
never
true.
as is, right? Actually,
No.
that's a term that you can't even use in court,
Right.
as
it,
is.
No.
It can't.
You cannot say, I'm selling the house as is, and hiding something that is bad, like the cracked foundation with a carpet covering it. If you sell it as is, and they find out that you have a bad foundation, you can still be sued.
I'll tell you, my wife said she would take me as is, but that changed really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she married you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I'll take you
it's-
I want you just how you are.
Yeah, my wife says I'm not the man she married. Hell, I'm twice the man she married.
It's funny.
Yeah.
You got
Those-
you got to
those-
see us on YouTube then.
that's
Tony's
the
not
whole-
a small guy.
My
He's
wife
a big
asked
guy.
me to describe inflation to her. That it's easy. When we first got married, I weighed 180 pounds. Now I weigh 280 pounds. You get a lot more me. I just don't do as much. You know? That's inflation.
That's inflation.
Yeah.
So setting the price is important. Being
Well,
able to have reasonable
remember, Mark, we're talking
expectations.
about negotiations. So setting the price, first of all, you have to negotiate with your client.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
You're negotiating with your client.
Yeah.
You can't if you can't negotiate with your client, how are you going to negotiate with
with
somebody
another
else?
negotiator.
Right.
Right. That's
and
skill.
and setting the price is important. And coming to the table from a win-win perspective. That's how you create a nice environment with the buyer's agent. Because remember, in California, when you list a home, the seller pays a commission. So the seller is essentially paying the buyer's agent's commission, because what you're saying out there is, hey, I'm getting a commission, let's say it's 5%. I'll give 2.5% to any other agent who brings me a qualified buyer. So the seller's paying for everything. So
right.
they have a big stake in this whole situation.
They have a big stake. You know what you do is you just raise the price on the sell. If you're worried about paying that 2.5%, you just go, okay, you want to make an extra $15K? We'll negotiate a higher price for your house. So you got the expectation is, the first thing I'd like to ask my clients is, what would you like to walk away with? Because it's always really about the net.
Money.
So I hope so.
Well, the first thing I say is, would you like to walk away? So that's, yeah. Now, as long as everything is, as we say, copacetic between everybody. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen to this, Frank. This is really difficult to do, and you guys know it. Tony, you're going to probably understand this too. How do you negotiate with a FSBO?
A FSBO is FSBO, which stands for for sale by owner.
Yes.
And what you do...
It's also a clown.
Yeah, FSBO the clown.
I'm just saying. It is.
So how do you negotiate with a FSBO? How does that work?
Well, you talk to the guy and say, we're going to set it up. We have to have contracts, and you just work with the owner. It's usually disastrous, but some people think they could save money selling it by themselves.
Right.
Huge mistake.
When they get that 1 inch thick, thick of documents that they have to sign their name in over 200 spots, they change their mind typically, and it's hard to sell because when you're the owner and somebody comes in and goes, "This paint is disgusting. We got to change it." The guy, "Get out of my house. You're not the right buyer."
Correct.
I mean, there's just too much bad things that go, and then you don't know if the guy's really going to disclose everything. The home inspections may or may not happen. Always hire an agent.
There's no reason not to hire an agent. You're going to hurt yourself in the long run if you don't have decent representation.
When you're dealing with $1 million, someone's going to get sued unless you do everything right.
Correct.
So
that's why you want a responsible
we don't
person.
just cover you in negotiating the best price. We negotiate that you will not end up in court in mediation, arbitration, or litigation forever. So we have to cover you from beginning to end. We protect the client.
Right. And all kidding aside, that's why you want somebody like you and Frank, like the Powell brothers on your side.
Thank you.
I mean,
that's true.
Listen,
ridiculous.
There's a lot of people who try to be agents. They sell 1 or 2 houses and then they're done. To be a 724 agent, 15 years, making it your livelihood, that we only make our money by what we sell. We get no corporate check. We get no...
We've been doing it for more than 15 years now.
I don't even know how long, a long time. So you must hire professionals.
Right.
And the best professionals are those you can trust, those you have a good personality, those you can work with, those who take their time, those who know how to deal with seniors, and very complicated houses that may have a whole bunch of things wrong, because there's always a solution. Don't be paralyzed. It's called analysis paralysis.
Right.
When you analyze things too much, you get paralyzed. Just call the Powell brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, that's a good closing. Let's figure out how we're going to get in touch with Tony Calabrese, who's really doing a good job.
And I got to bring this up too this week because Comedy Heights, I want to talk about Maria's not here. Maria Herman's not here, but they've got Comedy Heights shows on Friday at Bay Bridge Brewing in Chula Vista, Saturday at Twigs in University Heights, and a new show every other Thursday. We got it in Liberty Station at Liberty Public Market.
Good one.
That's a good one.
And that's
Yeah.
every
I like
other
Liberty
Thursday.
Station.
Maria, we're still backing you up. And Mark and Tony, how do we get a hold of you?
TonyCalabrese.com, all social media. I'm out there. Yeah, you can get a hold of me.
Last week...
Mark, how do we get a hold of us? We have 10
PowellBrothersRealty.com, PowellBrothersRealty.com, or hit us up on the phone at 858-922-7725.
Check out our YouTube channel, My Funny House with the Powell Brothers. Thanks for tuning in, guys and girls and everybody. We love you.
Thanks so much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at powellbrothersrealty.com, or you can visit myfunnyhouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.